Hello and welcome to my TED-Ed video. Today I'll be discussing the so-called secret war in Laos, the role the United States had in it, and how it has affected the lives of Hmong people across the world. Here's a bit of history about the Hmong people. About 5,000 or 6,000 years ago, this group was thought to have arisen in central China. They grew rice and played a key role in spreading this staple crop throughout Asia. China, attempting to unite all people within itself, suppressed small groups like the Hmong for years. Fast forward to the 18th and 19th century, conflicts in China have driven the Hmong people south and mostly into what is now the nation of Laos. In the late 19th and early 20th century, the French asserted control over Laos as a protectorate or colony. They imposed heavy taxes and jurisdiction on Laos and the Hmong people. However, the Hmong were eventually able to make their own decisions as an ethnic group. A short time after, World War II began, and the Hmong people were divided. Most sided with the Royal Lao government, backed by the French, and the rest supported the Communist Party of Laos, which became known as the Pathet Lao. The fight between the Pathet Lao and the Royal Lao was essentially a proxy war for the war between the Axis powers like Japan and the Allies like France. The Hmong people of the Royal Lao demonstrated great strength against the Japanese, so they earned citizenship and positions in government in Laos following the war. Once World War II was over, the French wanted control over Southeast Asia again. So did the powerful communists, including China. The Hmong people supported France, but they were defeated in 1954. That is the year that Vietnam was divided into North and South, communism and democracy. In response, the Hmong of Laos tried to take action. Within a year, the Vietnam War had begun. The war in Vietnam obviously affected its neighboring country of Laos, but many people are not aware just how much. President John F. Kennedy, who served from 1961 to 1963, used the assistance of South Vietnamese troops in battle against the Viet Minh. The American military also enlisted ethnic groups in the unstable nation of Laos, like the Hmong. They did not trust that Laos would remain neutral in the Vietnam War. So the influx of supplies and CIA influence on the Hmong marked the start of a secret war in Laos. Through the next decade, the Hmong waged war alongside the Americans. About 20,000 men were initially enlisted, and some women were trained as medics. The CIA carried out extensive bombing throughout Laos to try to block the communist supply lines and support. The U.S. bombed Laos during the secret war more heavily than we did Japan and Germany combined in all of World War II, and those bombs continued to torment Laos. An estimated 30% did not detonate immediately. They still claim casualties to this day. In the early 70s, the United States was trying to work out peace treaties and eventually retreated from Laos. Neither the Vietnam War nor the CIA's secret war were successful in the end for Americans and our allies. By April of 1973, the United States had pulled all of its troops out of Southeast Asia, and the war was technically over. It is estimated that anywhere from a tenth to the half of the 300,000 Hmong people of Laos that lived before the war were killed or injured, soldiers and civilians alike. By 1975, Vietnam and Laos had fallen entirely to communist rule. The U.S. had only evacuated a few thousand Laotian Hmongs in their swift escape. Those remaining faced persecution in their home country and eventually had to flee to Thailand or anywhere else in the world. To this day, the secret war is something that doesn't get talked about in America. We are mostly familiar with the United States' resistance to communism, but not the measures we took to enforce our beliefs. The bombs left in Laos still kill innocent civilians today. Once the United States faced failure and left Southeast Asia in a hurry, innocent Hmong civilians and soldiers that supported us had to resist resentful enemies before eventually fleeing from home in an exodus of tens of thousands. Our agenda caused lives of our allies to be lost, and most Americans don't even know about it.